I would like to welcome you all to another episode of A Chat with Anita and Matt. And this week we're having an interview. This was our very first one. Her name is Melissa Love. And Matt is going to tell you a little bit more about Melissa before we start the interview.
Well, I just met Melissa through Anita. Melissa is the founder of Everybody Up. And what I love to see about her is something that I really need myself. I'm kind of the age that I don't really need to hear the advice of folks that have been in just one industry, or they're only digital marketers, or they only have one thing to offer. And I need to hear from folks that have been in many industries, who have talked with so many people. I mean, it's so different if you're that person that is face to face with executives in Fortune 500 companies or directors of government agencies, and you're in front of those people and you're selling them your stuff and they say yes. That is big league. And Melissa is big league. And that's why I'm so happy that she's on here, somebody with her experience, the amount of people that she has worked with. So we're going to let Melissa talk a lot about what she does as well, but I just happy to have her on board. Thanks for coming, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melissa. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience based on what Matt just spoke about?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Major League, because something I like to focus on all the time is that we're all humans. And why do we have to always put each other at this status level? Like, oh, the boss just walked into the door, I can and cannot say certain things, or I want to talk to this person differently than how I talk to another person, which some of that is okay, but are you also being true to yourself? Because I find that really making true connections with people, why am I trying to be something I'm not? And I can only hold up a facade for so long. You're in time, don't we all just want to grow closer so we can be comfortable? And being comfortable is all about being ourselves, right? So even if you felt like you had to be super buttoned up for that Rolls Royce client that the generals from the Indian Army were walking in, yes, certainly you have to mind some P's and Q's. You have to know about their culture as well. You have to take all those things into consideration so you don't offend people, but also don't discount who you are as a person either, because I talk a lot about building relationships in the workplace and also outside the workplace. And again, you can only keep that facade up for so long before they get to see who you really are, because
that's so true. Like in the digital marketing world, it seems like it's all facade.
Yep.
And that's one thing that we struggle trying to break through that to find out who that real person is and what they can offer us.
Right. Because they're not going to buy from you until they trust you. So.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a word that I rarely hear.
Yeah.
And I'd actually use that word about using your same words. People only buy from those that we trust. And right. I had mentioned that to some folks that have been around digital marketing for a while, and they're like, oh, you don't say that word. Like we don't use trust. I'm like, what? They said, you won't find that word. Here's how you sell people, through urgency and scarcity, and here's my social proof and my authority. But that word trust, you won't find very often. And they said there's a reason for that. I was always struggled with that. But what you said is absolutely, fundamental in business. You would think that it would be accepted in the online marketing world as well, but it's kind of rare.
Right. And that's, it's disturbing to me that because I always we've got our gadgets, we've got our online marketing. When I grew up in the marketing world 23 years ago, it was outdoor TV, radio, print. If you had a website, it was a brochure website, so, and those are still really my passions, but it was still like when they get to the store or when they get to the casino, what is that experience? And the people that are there make the experience, whether it be somebody on a call with the water department or, guest services at the Trump Entertainment Resorts in Atlantic City. I mean, it's all about that experience. So not everything is done online through a computer, and there are people behind computers.
Yeah. It's one of the things actually that I wanted to just take a little further, because part of what we're doing here is part of actually the primary purpose of what we're doing here is to try to create a movement where people can be genuine, where they can be themselves in the online world and still do well. I think there's this idea, and I don't know where it came from, that unless you're like you said, putting on the facade and using false scarcity, using false urgency, using these tactics, that you can't be successful. And that's not true at all. In fact, I fully agree that the more I can be myself and genuinely look to help people, that is really going to end up helping me with success, financial and otherwise, than using those tactics which don't align with who I am. People can sense when you're comfortable, like you said, the facade's down and you're being your genuine self versus when you're not. And so many of us, when like Matt and I are both come from academic backgrounds. When we came onto the online world, we threw away everything we knew and just jumped in thinking, well, we know nothing. We'll just learn from all these gurus. And what we learned was what they were teaching was incongruent with our values. Right. And the biggest thing we've done, and this is the reason why we've created this show, is to say that, yeah, you can drop the facade, be genuine, really help people, and be successful in various metrics.
Right.
Not just like we saw that it's just the financial one that's really focused on in the digital world. So what you're saying is huge. Can you offer perhaps one way? Let's say somebody is like Matt and I in the beginning, trying to sort out this, what their business is, who they're trying to help, and really figuring out who that persona is for themselves online. What's one thing you could suggest that they do to help them better focus on who they really are and being authentic?
Well, I think that anytime I put something out, whether it be on an email or a social media post, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, I am really my business. And so I have to make for sure that I feel confident in what I'm saying, that the data is really backed up, that I'm not just making up statistics, and that it's, statistics found by Gallup or Harvard Business School, not just some possible fake news site. Be careful of those. Research it and then cross-reference it. And something that I feel, if I can say it to you face to face, then I'm okay posting it. I'm okay putting it in an email. And I ask myself that all the time, is because I am my business, and I don't want to paint a picture of the service they're going to get from me online that's different from when I show up. That's going to be bad for me. Very, very bad for me. So I want to make for sure that what they experience online is certainly only a piece of me, but it's still me. If you write what you could say to somebody, great. Now, if this makes you feel a little icky because of the urgency, then you probably shouldn't say it, because you probably wouldn't feel comfortable saying it to somebody in person, right? Or would you feel comfortable saying it from stage? Because I love to sell from stage, but I don't sell from stage, and because I've been to a couple of these as well, is where it is that urgency, $11,000, but you can get it today for $9.95. And then they give some stuff, and they're like, remember, you could be one of our 26. I just don't approach it that way.
Yeah.
And so I did something that I really love, and I hope it's okay that I'm talking about this, because it's not just online for me, because
absolutely.
My presence goes way beyond that. Mm-hmm. With networking and networking workshops I give, and public speaking courses and training workshops that I give people. So one thing that I do is I'll give a speech, and all the time it's all why you should do this, and then how you can do it, how you could apply this today. What are those little tips that you can take back to the office and do today? And then I'll ask somebody, towards the end of a speech, I'll say, okay, everybody take out your business card. And on the back, I want you to write the letter Y, the letter N, and the letter S. And I want you to circle one of those. And Y is, you'd love to hear from me more. N is, you got everything you needed today. That's all you need. And S is, do you know of any other speaking engagements that I might be a good fit for? And throw it in the bucket. I'll give away a free team building workshop. And I have found that to be, I got love notes the last time I did that technique. And I say love notes because it's sort of a double play on my last name, but you loved you. I want to talk to you, and this was me talking to a room of 300 people that obviously I made an authentic connection with. And they felt like they could reach out and they wanted to talk to me more. And then in my follow-up emails, I'm like, okay, you heard all about me. I'd love to meet with you, but I really want to hear about you. What are your passions? What do you believe in? Why do you work where you work? What makes you happy? What do you do on the weekends? Who are you? What's your side hustle? How can I help you? And I think that is so important, especially from a networking standpoint, is, you get so many of these people's like, oh, how many cards can I hand out today?
Yeah.
Really, it's more about, I'm more into let's build relationships, but you have to have patience with that. Just like Facebook ads are not going to, it's a long play, you got to make for sure that you're going to be in this consistently. So it's the same sort of approach, whether you're going to be online marketing, you're going to be networking, you're going to do both, you got to be consistent with it. And you got to be in there. And I also say that, if you are networking and you align yourselves with the right kind of people and the right type of businesses that really can spur your business, be all in, volunteer to be on a committee, volunteer to be on the board, volunteer for a certain event, be all in. But also it's from a point of, certainly, yes, if I'm all in, I'm being seen. People are being reminded of, oh, Melissa, what she has. What does she do again? And they're just forcing themselves, their own wheels spin like, what does she do again? I just met with her. What does she do again? Boy, they're looking me up on LinkedIn. They're looking me up on Facebook. Oh, they're checking out my website without me doing anything. So yes, there is an ulterior motive to me being all in, but I'm also giving my time at the same time, just in a way to remind people of the person I am and that I do volunteer and I want to give back. But yeah, it's me. And yes, do you want to hear more about me? Sure, but I want to hear about you. So
gosh, there's so much gold in there. I'll just pull out one thing. I could pull out a ton of them, but just that notion of asking people for recommendations of where you could speak next. And there's people in your audience and all of our audiences that really love us. They want to get the word out. They want to give back because you've really helped them in a big way. But so few of us ask for feedback of these people. And even if we do ask for feedback, we never let them know what we did with their feedback. They kind of feel like outside. So just that notion of you've given them huge value on the stage, and now you ask them, just a simple question about, anybody else, that, I could speak at, anybody else I could help. And there they are with those ideas. It's just kind of that pent up desire for a lot of people that, they want you to do better. They want you to stick around forever. Let them help you do that.
Right. And and it was something that I just felt comfortable with, that I felt was not too pushy. Because they don't have to give me their card. No.
And I want to, I'm a natural, I naturally want to help people. My mom used to say, sticking my nose in other people's business. And I guess it depends on the situation. It could be helpful or not.
Right.
That's how I always felt, like this genuine reciprocity, not sort of as it's been perverted in the online digital marketing world to the reciprocity of, I'll give you something for free if you give me your email.
Right.
But really, like, I want to help. How can I? Because that to me is my expression of gratitude. for
Right.
what you just did for me. So I would circle that S and say, yeah, this, would love to see you speak to this group because they could really benefit from what you're offering.
Right.
And that makes me feel good too. And
Right.
I love this idea. I really do. And yet it's not something I had ever considered to do for myself. But yet I'm one of the first people who would have, would have been throwing my name in there probably with, 3 or 4 business cards with other,
Right.
other suggestions on where you could speak. I think that's wonderful that we can do this because this is all that it's really about, right? Genuine human relationships, conversations, like you say. You
Right.
respond back to them afterwards to get to know who they really are. This
Right.
isn't you just speak from the stage and hope they all run to the back and sign up for whatever it is you are offering.
Right. No.
You really want more. And what a great way to do it. I love it. I love it. I really do.
Well, and it made it so much easier because then now I don't have what I hate to do are cold calls.
Yeah.
I hate it with every blood molecule in my body. It feels icky. I feel like I'm inconveniencing people with my call and like, how can I make like a quick connection and just an audio form because I'm so demonstrative in what I look like mostly. So I use that when I am networking in person. But so I could just, a simple email is like, hey, I'd love to get together. Thank you so much for this. I want to get to know you, how I can help you. And again, I just make it about them. And so often I want to say that I wish that people would use one-on-ones like that because we always talk and we're out networking and we're always talking about make for sure don't just come to the networking big group, but come to the make a meeting with somebody and get to know them, but again build that relationship. And so often I go to those one-on-ones and it's that person talking about themselves for 2 hours straight. So I'll say, tell people as soon as you sit down that you have a hard out. If somebody comes up to you and asks you for a one-on-one, say, hey, yes, I'd love to get to know you more. I'd love to expand my network. What do you want to talk about? And then that can start to filter out to some of those people that are just going to sell at you. And then another thing that I've tried a couple times, maybe, and I need to do this more, is like, okay, so they want to expand their network. They know where I'm coming from a point of view from a one-on-one. Hey, I welcome you to take a look at my LinkedIn. And if there's somebody there that you want me to introduce you to, I'm happy to do it after our meeting. I'm going to do the same. And I find that most people don't even look at my LinkedIn. But I'm like, I'd love connections to these 3 people. How do you know them? Would you mind doing just a light email introduction for me?
That's pretty clever. I actually had not thought to do that.
Yeah.
Mostly because LinkedIn is probably my preferred platform, but that's a great way of getting people to your page and also making those sorts of connections that can build your audience as well.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
And I was going to that's how Melissa and I met. I had reached out to her on LinkedIn, asked to be a connection. I think I actually asked if we could have a chat, which we did. And through that, I asked her, would you be interested in coming on our show? Because I agree with Matt. In the 25 minutes or so we've been talking, Melissa, there's so many things we could talk in further depth about, because you really come from a very different perspective from, like I said, the world where Matt and I came from with digital marketing, where it's just about the money. It's about making the sales. It's not seeing people as people, but rather leads and sales and dollar signs and lists. It's your approach is very gentle. And I think that to me is what's so appealing. And it's not difficult. Like you said, it's just asking a simple question back, and through that opening the door. Unlike, we jump on webinars, we know we're going to be sold to. So we're already kind of standing in this, defensive position, waiting.
Where's the price? Where's the price? Where's the price is what I got it.
You got it. And this eliminates all of that. at some point we're going to talk to people face to face, whether we're marketing online or not. There is a point where this is considered face to face, where you're going to have a conversation with somebody, and to be able to ask those small things, but yet they're so big, right? They really are. And it helps then again empower people to try again with someone else and try again with someone else. And suddenly it's like you said, it is such a different approach from what we've been taking with the cold calls and all of that. I love it. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you get referring to Melissa's point. I heard her say earlier about just in your writing, as if you're talking to those people face to face, how would you speak to them? I've heard people say, imagine your mother, you're writing to your mother, or your mother's in the room watching you sell or whatever. Like, how would you really act if it was the real you and you just wanted to have that conversation with that person? And usually it's totally different than what you actually wrote, paying attention to how we're trained to do that here in online marketing.
Right.
So I have a question that's totally unrelated to this, but I was looking at the videos of what's going on when you work with employees in a company and to build up their satisfaction and their enthusiasm. What are they doing in those videos? Are they like doing trust exercises or walking on hot coals, or what are you doing?
None of the above. The things that I do are very low pressure. And I give adults permission to have fun and to play again. Because when you're playing, your creative juices are flowing, you're more open to other ideas, you're more open to give ideas. So like one of the things that I'll do is and team building and network sort of go hand in hand, and a lot of the same exercises that I do in a speed networking workshop are a lot of the same things that I would do in a team building thing, because it's about breaking down those barriers and just opening yourself up. And so one thing I'll do is I'll do a thing called Come Over Here. And so everybody's standing in what I call my improv circle. And I'll say, I want people to reveal things about themselves. You don't have to like, get naked here with your feelings. But I do ask you to be positive, so it can be, I love dogs. I love pizza. I'm a parent. I graduated from IU. It could be anything in the world, or I had a great weekend. So when you have this room of people, and so one person raises their hand, I'll say, I'll always begin. And I usually start with something that nobody knows about me and nobody shares with me. And I'll say, I was once in a coma. And nobody normally will join me. So if you shared that characteristic, that would be another podcast. But if you shared that characteristic with me, you are now going to join me in my little area. And then somebody else is going to call out something else about themselves. I love pizza. I love vodka. So if you share that characteristic with that person, you join them. So people within the circle can then step out and then call up a new thing about themselves, have people join them, or people outside the circle can call it, I love cats. Oh, I'm allergic to cats. Any number of things that just gets people to, one, you're opening up, you're getting your brain operating in a different way than it normally does. Yes, I am asking you to step out of your comfort zone. However, I'm only allowing that spotlight to be on you for a little tiny second. And then all of a sudden somebody shares that characteristic with you. Wow, what do you feel? You feel supported. You feel not alone anymore. Now, and when we are networking or when we're building stronger teams, we're trying to relate to one another. What do we have in common? We were both adopted. We both are an only child. We both are parents of 3 boys, whatever. We're both cat lovers. We're both dog lovers. We both love vodka. We both like to party on the weekends. Whatever it is, now we have something in common that we can now springboard into a conversation about. Oh, I know that you mentioned that you were once in a coma. Are you okay? Yes, it paid for college. All is well. It's just, if it's something that you didn't have in common with them, is it an interesting fact about somebody that you wouldn't have otherwise known? So I'm allowing adults to, yes, step out of their comfort zone and also get into people's space with some of the things that I do, because I also do something called enemy and defender, which doesn't sound very friendly. So I'll say, in a moment, I want you to select somebody secretly in your head. Do not tell me. One person as your enemy, one person as your defender. And when I say go, you're going to constantly move about the room, and you're going to constantly put your defender between yourself and your enemy. Okay? So you're constantly moving around the room because nobody knows who each other's enemy is. You're only working for yourself. But what this forces is lots of laughter. It forces people to get or allow them or give them permission to get in other people's space, because lots of times people will pick each other as their enemy or each other as their defender, and that can get extremely chaotic. And then people are just, because it's a little bit uncomfortable, it makes the energy in the room higher, and it makes adults laugh. But now, and then I'll ask people, okay, who is your enemy? Who is your defender? And that makes people laugh even more. And then conversations are starting just because out of people that have never met before.
That's terrific. So Anita, how do we use this in the online marketing world?
Well, I actually, as Melissa was speaking, it was reminding me, Matt, of the survey questions that you ask and the responses that you give back when you close the loop. Mm-hmm. It's taking, sort of not this little bit, but what Melissa was talking about where, I love cats, I love this, and you're revealing something personal, and then people come to join you and you don't feel alone. I mean, one of the biggest things, we were talking about this yesterday, was around why social media works, because it's a place where you can go and belong. Mm-hmm. Am I the only one that likes this thing? And then you would shout it out like Melissa suggested, and you find out, wow, there are a couple of people who also like this. Wow, I thought I was one of so few. And Matt, with giving results back to, survey respondents, we were talking about this yesterday, that's what it gives, is a sense of belonging. You realize that, oh, I'm one of 12% versus that, responded this way versus 56% responded that way. Isn't that interesting? But you don't feel like the only one. And that, I love that exercise. Little difficult in the online world, but really is it? Because Matt, you're getting the same stuff right there through surveys.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, there's a survey that I do about once a year, and it has the highest response rate from my own list. And it's simply me going out there, because I get, after a year, you have a lot of new folks on board. And in the survey, I say, here's my interests. I love to scuba. I love to cruise. We homeschool our children. I go through it. There's probably 7 or 8 things. And then I invite them to check off, like, what is, do they like cruising? Do you like, I'm in a rock band. Are you a musician? And they respond. And then I close the loop, as Anita said. I write back to those folks, like all the homeschoolers. And I write them a little note like, wow, it's the toughest job on earth, being a homeschooler. I'm so, I'm with you on that one. And those are our musicians. I ask them, where do you play? And what it's, so it's just kind of my, what'd you call it? The come here?
Yes. Yeah. Come over here. Yes.
Come over here. So I can see the flavor of that in this as well.
Absolutely. And what better authentic connection is to reach somebody with their own interests, and people like to talk about themselves. So if you want to ask me if I like which kind of bands, or if I homeschool versus public school, and if you're already a trusted source, I'm going to give you my opinion, because, hey, it's about me, and we are selfish human beings. That is the way it is. So we all need to accept that, but also remember it as we go about life. And again, that's just giving you such an amazing, data point to expand that relationship and make, even deeper, meaningful conversations and connections, and also get to understand how to better help them as well. If you're talking about a band, or, we haven't had a gig in a few months. Oh, well, why is that? Because I've got a manager friend, or I've got a guy that owns a bar, or, I know about an open mic night, whatever. Why not have that conversation? Again, always asking, what can I do for other people? Which is how I approach just about everything I do. What can I do to help other people? Because hopefully over time, they're going to remember. And if I ask for something for myself, they'll be like, oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Let's have lunch. I want to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me a little bit about the niche thing. I'm not a fan at all about, or the avatar thing, which I'm not a fan of because it doesn't seem to resonate with me. But there it is. I mean, if you find those people who are homeschooling parents who are in rock bands who love to cruise, it's like, well, that's my person right there. And by asking, those sorts of questions like you do, or getting people to volunteer like Melissa does, you can learn who those folks are.
Yeah. Right. Well, I've got to say, this has been a fantastic conversation. Like I said, Melissa, you've given us so many different things to think of. And the biggest are, and this is what I always do at the end of the show, what are some tips that we can give to implement right away? And you've already given a whole bunch. So in the spirit of us helping you, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me at everybodyuptx, that's as in like Texas abbreviation.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Facebook, and you can email me at melissa@everybodyuptx.com. Feel free to give me a ring or a call or an email or smoke signals, whatever. I will respond.
That's great. And we'll put your information in the show notes as well for those people who are watching on YouTube. Matt, where can people find you?
Over on LinkedIn, that's best. Matt Champagne on LinkedIn. Let's connect there and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, and for myself, Anita Toth, I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I guess it's just my name. I've also gotten trademarked the Queen of Customer Attraction. I'm really curious if someone puts that in search, what brings, what comes up, and if my LinkedIn profile pops up or not. So
I'm going to do it right after this call.
Yeah, we're all going to have to check and see, does it work? Right. Melissa, again, thank you so much for sharing with us. You have given, again, so many tips for people to be able to use. And I think the biggest thing that I have taken away, just trust yourself and be genuine. Like you said, drop the facade and realize there's others who are just like you out there. We all want to belong. We all want to feel like we're part of something bigger. And that's been the biggest thing for me. And I thank you very much for that. Matt, do you have any final words for Melissa?
Yeah, before I'll leave Melissa with the final word, but I just wanted to add in there that I really think this is the age of true relationships and as far as online marketing goes, and with entrepreneurs trying to sell their things. I think we've gone through that rocky bumps of the high pressure sales and the psychological tactics and things. I think we're to an age of people really want to be themselves. They want to attract people to themselves. They really want to help people. I think this is, we're on the cusp of a new age in this. And I think Melissa has been there longer than most, kind of paving the way for this. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Melissa,
any last words, Melissa? Yeah.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Be your authentic self. And if you want to have fun and you want somebody to help adults have fun, then I'm your gal.
That's awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, and feel free to subscribe, hit that notification button. And as always, we ask you to comment below. Just like we talked about in this episode, we want to know from you what you're interested in. Did you like what you heard? What about the tips Melissa gave? How are you going to implement them in your business? Please comment so that we can, again, tailor our show to be able to help you even more. So that's it from Anita,
See you next time.
Melissa. Take care, guys. Bye for now.